Hello, everybody. As always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I am Coach Paul, and this is the Ola Prime Market News Update. In the U.S. equity futures markets, they continued their bullish behavior today as the S&P 500 futures gained over 0.4%, with the December contract reaching new all-time highs of 6,681. The Nasdaq behaved similarly, notching a 0.73% gain on the day and currently trading at 24,541. The Dow Jones had the worst day of the three, gaining less than 0.1%, currently trading at 46,245. On the market news front, we have little news on the global side of things this evening. New Zealand food price index number came in at 0.3%, less than the previous release of 0.7%. South Korean import price growth year over year increased to negative 2.2% from the previous reading of negative 5.9%. And the South Korean export price growth year over year came in at negative 1% versus the negative 4.3% previously. Last but not least, on the US front, an interesting thing here, Donald Trump brought up a topic of conversation to possibly reduce reporting requirements for companies from quarterly to semi-annually. This would, of course, be subject to SEC approval, but very interesting nonetheless, or nevertheless. So, as far as the US dollar, showed some more weakness today versus the major future currency pairs. Euro USD gained about 0.25%. It's currently trading at 1.1827 as of this writing. CAD USD had a very bullish day, recording a 0.5% gain and is currently trading at 0.729, which is a test of the 50-period EMA on the daily chart, by the way. GBP USD continued its bullish momentum and was able to log a 0.3% gain on the day. The pair is currently trading at 1.361. The Swiss franc gained 0.2% versus the US dollar and currently is trading at 1.2719. The Japanese yen closed up 0.15% on the trading session and is currently trading at 147.36 yen to the US dollar. And lastly, on our list here, the New Zealand dollar gained 0.2% against the US dollar today. The pair currently sits at 0.5989. For a little crypto update, cryptocurrencies were bearish across the board today. Bitcoin is down less than 0.2% and currently trading at $115,460, while Ethereum is down 2% and is currently trading at $4,526. We also have Litecoin down 1.36%, trading at $113.6. XRP is down 1.5%, trading at $2.99, just slightly shy of that $3 mark again. And Solana is down 3.93%, trading at $234. For commodities, gold futures rallied, trading up over 1% on the day and currently trading at $3,725 per ounce as of this writing. Silver futures followed suit with a very bullish day, gaining over 1.2% on the session and currently trading at 43.15 cents per ounce. So WTI crude oil futures gained 1% on the day and are currently trading at the $63.30 per barrel level as we are stuck in the $62 to $64 range. And as for key events tomorrow, we have the regular and core retail sales month-over-month data releasing at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Might provide a little bit of volatility in the morning session. But now, without further ado, it is time for our Quiet Markets live trading session with both myself and Coach Tiger. So let's get to the trading, folks. Coach Tiger,
Hey,
how you doing?
well,
How's everything?
I am excellent, man. I am doing wonderful. Just getting a couple things updated over here on my chart. There we go. Got
Awesome.
on here
Yeah, yeah,
a
no
couple
worries.
minutes later than I wanted to.
No,
Let's
you're
see,
fine.
22%, 2%.
Funny enough,
How's
I
that?
for for me at the moment, actually, I can quickly jump into something here. I
Sure.
Right before I started the market news segment, I got long gold for the breakout of the top at 37.25, or I got
Okay.
long at 37.23 half, and I got out at 37.25. So I made about 150 bucks on that trade, and it took me out right during the market news segment there.
Oh,
So
okay.
tick one on the board there, and I also got long the ES. So right now I am long the ES at the moment, but
Nice.
nothing crazy or anything. Just one mini contract. So not doing a whole lot at the moment. So yep, I will update the production folk that I am long one ES at the moment. Um,
Sweet.
but yeah, so that's pretty awesome. And then looks like we have Kelton Scott in the chat already. It's good to see you. Can you share your trade ideas prior to entry? Of course. Unfortunately, I can't share the one that I just got into because I got into it before the segment even started here, actually. But I can share my screen real quick. And
Sweet.
bada bing, bada
Yeah,
boom.
I'm still in a couple trades myself, so be happy to go over those after you're
Yeah, yeah.
completed with your part. Yeah, I got into a Bitcoin trade this morning and also pound Aussie dollar short. So yeah, we'll have a couple items to
Yeah,
go over.
nice.
We can breeze through the COT report real quick for anybody that maybe doesn't check out the Sunday evening show, and just kind of see what's on deck for the week leading up to the interest rate decision, right? The Super Bowl of the week,
Right.
so to
Yeah,
speak.
man,
So
definitely.
take my
Yeah.
glasses off.
As soon
I
as
slept in my contacts. I totally forgot to pull them out.
oh
I don't
no.
like sleeping
Oh
in
no.
contacts. I was like, why are my eyes dry all of a sudden? I'm like, oh, you goofball, you didn't even pull out your contacts. Happens once in a while.
uh, I'm going to tell them to share my screen when possible.
Yeah, I gotta report my trades as
And
well.
cool,
Let's see
cool.
here.
All right. And my trade is a very very simple simple setup here. So as soon as my screen is shared, I will go over it. Cool, awesome. We're up now. We're up and running. The whole premise of this is high of day on the ES and the regular trading hour session was 66.80 and a quarter there. And the low of the overnight so far is 66.71 half, so about 9 points below that. Obviously, you can see this like kind of a little bit of a run up here sometime around 7 p.m. Eastern time. We had a little bit of a run up and then we kind of flat topped here, came back down. But the the area of interest for me, which let me get long here, was the candle at 8:30 p.m. here. I'm on a 5 minute chart at the moment. I'm just looking at the order flow on a separate thing here, and I'm looking at like the deltas, and I saw that there was some decent negative delta here at the bottom of this candle where we kind of made this little hammer candle, and then some buying pressure came in. So I figured about it was like about 10 or no, at this point it was about 15 or so minutes ago, I decided to get long and look for these bulls to continue the breakout above the 66.78 area, and I'm looking to get back to that all-time high level here of that 66.80 and a quarter. That would be the goal, but we're about a dot. We're 1 point in the money here, so we're 50 bucks in the money. ranging tick by tick here between 3/4 of a point and a point in the money. So if we get to about 66.78, if we can get up another 3/4 of a point, I'm actually just going to move my stop to break even, and then see how price and how volume reacts at that level. See if we can't push through, or if we just consolidate a little bit. But 2 points should be a decent enough amount of room to let it play and consolidate there if it is going to break up and test that high again. So, yep, that's kind of the thought process behind it. Nothing super crazy or anything, just relatively bullish in general. Especially after everything that's gone on over the last couple weeks and whatnot. And today was kind of a relative like melt up day, very boring except for the Dow. The Dow was extremely like bleh. It's just a flat kind of day for the Dow for the most part. So yep, just playing to the long side here, and that's it, Kelton. Kelton says he's currently down about 17 pips in the USD CAD, hoping for a bounce back to the upside. Oh yeah, you already look at you. You're already in the chat. You're already replying to him and everything. All right, awesome, sweet. And I'm sure Tiger will be able to go through that more than myself, since he's the Forex guy. So yeah, that's it for me. Yeah.
Right on. Well, it's trekking on its way there for you so far. So that's good.
Nice little candle. We got up to that 78 level now, and I'm just going to move my stop loss to break even like I said I would, and see what she does from here. See if we can't log a very nice green day for our green quiet market session night. Would love to come out of this session green. Look at that little break up here. Come on.
There you go. Let's get on up there.
Break upward.
Keep on trucking.
Come on. Yeah, 66.80.
Pound Aussie.
And I'm not gonna get greedy here. If I need to get out a tick early or anything, I will. If things start to kind of die down, the volume fizzles out, I'm not going to be afraid to just take my money and run. So kind of like what we're seeing at the moment. The volume just like dried up there on that push. We can't. Come on, let's keep it going here. Come on, keep it going.
Chugga. Choo. All right, let's see here. Bitcoin.
How was your morning though? All right, wasn't too shabby.
Yeah.
How'd you fare today in the markets?
Yeah. So it's funny. I kept messing up my entry on the pound Aussie short. I kept getting the digits wrong when I was putting my stop loss in. So I ended up getting into the trade 2 different times and having to cancel it. Get my water out of the way of the light there. I had to cancel it because I just kept getting the digits entered incorrectly, because every time I created the trade, the stop loss was a mile high, and then the next time it was only like a short distance above the entry. I'm like, what in the heck am I doing? So I was entering in one too many digits the first time, and then I entered in one too few digits the second time. I'm like, Tiger, it's Monday. Wake up. So then I finally got into it for a third time and got it entered correctly. So, but yeah, it's both of those trades I've already got profits locked in, unrealized profits locked in. So yeah, just kind of on both of them, they kind of pulled back at the same time. That's when I moved my stop losses. So just waiting to see if we can get another little push, break some new highs and lows to feel a little better about staying in. But yeah, worst case scenario, I mean, definitely have quite a few cups of coffee locked in. Worst case scenario. So Bitcoin, It's kind of funny. I was just looking at it on obviously a smaller time frame, so I didn't pay a ton of attention to the top setups page on it. It's basically a neutral for Bitcoin. So, but I was just looking at it on a smaller time frame, and yeah, that smaller time frame turned into an all day trade. So it's still going strong. It's not really moving as fast as I would like to see it. It did for a while, but then it obviously started to pull back. So yeah, just waiting to see if we can break this new couple of highs that we've established, a little bit of a double top on a 5 minute time frame, and see if this middle part of Asia can boost it a little bit. I know the cryptos are pretty popular in the Asian session, so we'll see if we can get some more Bitcoin buyers in there to push it on up for me. But anyway, on the Bitcoin trade, I got in actually 2 separate positions on it. So, but yeah, like I said, I got both of them locked in for profits at the moment. Just like a little bit ahead of break even. Nothing too substantive just yet.
Yeah.
Well, I got an overhead supply pretty much at the next swing high point. So but yeah, I entered in, basically averaged in. So it was 114,700 basically was my average price. And then, yeah, I got a stop at 116,530. So just below the overhead supply zone. So, yeah, but yeah, just kind of playing around with it. Like I said, especially on the higher time frame trades I take, that's where I'm 100% locked on to my top setups page, just to make sure it's in line with, the bullish or bearish bias. Say that 10 times fast. Bullish, bearish bias. So
yeah, right. Bullish, bearish bias. Bullish, bearish bias.
Yeah. But on like the 5 minute and maybe even the 15, as long as the technicals look good, and I got a pretty clear supply and demand zone for entry and take profit, as long as the trend is right, then yeah, I've been kind of stepping into some of these because I actually did it. So Friday night, I could not sleep. I was like, I tossed and turned in the bed until like 4:30 a.m. I'm like, my gosh. Okay, so let's get up and go watch some videos. So I got up and watched some more videos, just kind of, as always, just trying to improve my craft. And so, yeah, I just got to look and testing out some new things I was learning. I thought, well, you know what? The Bitcoin market's open. Let's go see. Let's go check that off the bucket list of trading something on a weekend. Because I don't think I have done that yet. Yeah. And yeah, I identified a pretty good zone, a supply zone. I sold into it, made I think $280, and it came down, and I bought to cover just ahead of the demand. I'll actually show it here in a few minutes. But I almost was going to take the demand zone the other way because it was ultimately in a little bit of pretty much an uptrend from the time frames I was looking at. But I didn't want to overstay my welcome, so finally at that point, I finally started to get sleepy and satisfied. So. But had I bought the demand, it would have worked out pretty well also. But didn't want to press my luck. I think I traded one other time over the weekend, but that was on a higher time frame. But this was my first time doing it on a lower time frame, the 5 minutes and the 15 minutes. So just had to check that off the bucket list. And yeah, finally, about 5 a.m., finally got sleepy enough to go to sleep.
Crazy. what a crazy way to check it off your bucket list. Like, I mean, I will say though, I definitely not recommended. There was a teacher that I very much respected highly when I was like starting out young when I was in high school, who used to say, or he said something one time that really kind of resonated with me in a way. And he said, if you cannot fall asleep and it's because your brain is like racing and you just can't, or you can't get something off of your brain, do whatever it is that you need to do to get it off your brain. Because once you do it, you will go to sleep. So he's like, if you feel like you need to study or something, or like if you feel stressed out about a test and you need to study, then study, and then study until you fall asleep, or whatever it is, or if you need to do chores or whatever. And so I feel like that was literally you. Yeah, read a book, whatever. Yeah. So
you get into a book and read about 15 minutes 20 minutes. That's always that was always one of my easiest ways to get to sleep. 3763.
Mm-hmm.
63 1. All right, Kelton, I got your levels drawn up, so we'll take a look at that here in just a moment.
Yeah, we
Was
can
that?
take
And
a
I'm
look at it
assuming,
now
well,
if you guys.
a long position. Okay.
Yeah,
Let me see here. Kelton, I'm going to guess that maybe you got into that trade from a former resistance point turned support. I like it. I was just looking to see if we had a zone there. Okay. Yeah, I'll take a look at the zones here in the meantime. So, yeah, we'll take a look at that here in just a moment. As soon as Paulie gets paid, they call you Paulie G, I hear, on the daytime.
Yeah,
The daytime
seems to be the running name now. So Pauly G it is, from the Jersey Shore, I guess,
Oh, that's right.
but you guys, you can we can I mean, this trade, this ES trade, I mean, we had that really nice run up there that happened within like a minute, and now it's consolidating ever so sluggishly. So if you want to switch to your screen, if you want to take a look at that trade or whatever really quickly, you can, and I can let you know if something happens here, or we can switch back to mine whenever. But yeah, we can switch to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah, back in. Go ahead and pop on over. We'll look at dollar CAD. I'll breeze through my two trades I'm in at the moment, and then just cut me off if you need the chart back. Just let me know. I can always finish up my goodies after.
Yep.
As far as dollar CAD goes, Kelton, yeah, I mean, it's got a really good bullish bias. So there's the chart, but let me just take a quick peek at my gold, which is where I have my top setups. And you'll see it's one of my bullish items. So it's the only dollar pair that's giving me a bullish signal. Here we go. Dollar CAD, bullish score of an 8. So we don't have a single report. Well, I should say, let me rephrase that. So we've obviously had a lot of U.S. reports that have not been so good, right? Clearly, over the last few weeks. But the Canada reports have been worse, if you can believe that. So that's why we're not seeing any red items on here. So the blue boxes, that's where the report favored the dollar more than the Canada, as far as the more recent reports. Obviously, the fundamentals, the GDP, everything. And then you do have some neutral boxes in there. So they basically were just as poor together, if you want to phrase it that way. But yeah, just from a fundamental perspective, the dollar is definitely a little stronger than the Canada dollar right now. So definitely getting off to a good start. For me personally, that gives me permission to go out and buy the market. So it's just a matter of trying to time it on the chart. So just looking from a top down perspective. Okay, we got looking at a weekly time frame. We have a swing low, we have a swing high. Okay, so this is where I like to use my trend-based fib extension. Just wrap it from the bottom to the top. So what this shows me is we are low on the curve. Okay, we're in the bottom third or the bottom 33%. Well, that's good. That means we're buying low when you're looking at it in the context of the highest time frames, the higher time frames. Probably look the same. Yeah, I mean, even on a monthly, it looks the same, right? So I usually do the weekly. And then if I'm looking at curve on a weekly, I want to look at my trend on a daytime chart. Well, we're in an uptrend there. Higher highs, higher lows, so that's good. Now, just one thing that could potentially push your trade against you into your stop loss, which I marked white here. Here, let me color that yellow or red. Okay, so there's your entry, 1.37927, I believe you said. I like it because it also represented a former resistance point. So I already had that exact line on my chart. I didn't even have to add it. So just looking at it from a resistance point becoming potential support, yeah, that's not bad. That's what I wouldn't place the trade based off of that, but that definitely would be included in as an odds enhancer. Um, but yeah, this is the trend. So if I'm looking for buys in demand zones, then I'm going down to my 4-hour time frame. And so this is where this entry kind of gets tricky, because you do have a red candle down before a big spike up. So the price movement outside of this basing action is good, but the challenge is, you can see that when we had this leg out candle from this last red candle down, price returned and tapped into the demand already. So it's, to me, I call this a mitigated demand zone, meaning it's already been touched, right? Because you did have that wick come back. So for me personally, I would have avoided that trade because of that, just because it's now become an efficient market. Okay, this wick came down and touched this wick if you kind of do a horizontal look back, right? So that to me is an efficient market. Whereas, let's find a good example of something that's not an efficient market. Okay, so let's look at this red candle here. Okay, you had this big candle, and then you had this candle after. So that has a little bit of an acceleration gap or a fair value gap, however you want to label that. So that's what you call an inefficient market, meaning you would want to look at the candle up as a supply zone. So what happens? Price came back up, touched that candle, and as you can see, it's fallen off. That's because in an inefficient market, those are some of the best zones to be buying or selling. In this case, selling, to collect these unfilled orders to push price down. So not only that, but it did bounce into the daily supply zone, which is the yellow box. So that's a double whammy. It means we got strength. So when it comes to supply and demand zones, the higher time frame zones are usually, not always, but usually going to be stronger than any smaller time frame zone that you find opposite. Right? It's already mitigated. It's already pushed through, chewed through the rest of this. So now we're going back to the south to try to find more unfilled orders, to find more liquidity, to find more inefficiencies within an up leg. So back here, we had an inefficient market because we had this basing action, this push up, and then you had this little basing, or you had this little fair value gap right there, or acceleration gap, again, whatever you want to call it. Okay, the space between this candle's top, this candle's bottom. So that makes this green candle a demand zone. Well, as you can see, price already came down and touched it, collect those unfilled orders, and ran off. So we now have an efficient market here. So you just keep going down until you find an inefficiency, which we don't have any in this immediate leg. So, if that goes against you and stops you out, then that would be why, right? I don't care about anything in this wick, because this wick was created from a demand zone bounce. If you were to go down to a smaller time frame. So I like supply and demand zones that form on their own without the aid of another zone or fair value gap, right? So if we're just continuing our journey downward until we find an inefficiency on a 4-hour time frame, well, the highest probability one is always going to be the one that's closest to the origin of a strong move. So in this case, we have a daily demand zone down here. We got a 4-hour demand zone inside of the daily, which provides confluence. Okay. But then above that 4-hour demand zone, we have another fair value gap showing inefficiency. So for me personally, to buy into the dollar CAD, I'd be wanting to wait for price literally to come all the way down here. Now it's a long ways away, but that's the closest inefficiency in the market before we, get to the origin of the move itself. So I know that's a lot of jargon I just threw out, but yeah, that's why I have an alert set all the way down at 1.3627. But yeah, let's take a look at that wick right there. Let's look at it on a smaller time frame, because I think it was just a pure wick. Yeah, I don't think we really had any basing action. 5 minutes, it's still just a wick, right? So, if this stops you out, just, small loss, no big deal. We just go on and find a different, a better spot. And again, in my opinion, it would be, yeah, see, this wick has no basing action. So that's the wick that dropped into this demand. So you can't really use this area as a potential place to buy. Because I need to see at least, I prefer to see at least 2 candles. One is fine, but 2 to 3 candles, that gives you just enough time to start sucking in people, and then price moves away, and then that's where people get annoyed because they missed out on the move. So so yeah, for me personally, it's really a higher time frame option as far as finding the next inefficiency, but that makes the highest probability and most sense place to buy, because when price left this zone, it was strong enough to break this top and continue up. So that shows strength when you have the ability to break through resistance levels, when you break through supply zones ahead. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much, I think, the play to happen. Now, will it get down there? Who knows? I mean, eventually, but I'd be buying the demand zone, and then probably might even just incorporate the whole daily zone as my stop loss underneath it. I mean, aggressive would be obviously to put your stop loss a few pips under the demand, under the 4-hour demand zone itself. But if you wanted to be a little more conservative and you're open to, decreasing your risk reward, then the safest bet would be to put it under the demand zone. So that's really a couple options for it. But yeah, I mean, I don't blame you for buying there, because again, it was a former resistance, and often resistance becomes a support. So hopefully that helps. And then again, you do have pretty close to a demand zone. Again, it's already been touched from this candle here. So that there's no inefficiency in this market. It's an efficient market. When you have efficient markets, price tends to just continue going through it, searching for the inefficiency. Well, that one's already been touched, right? All these candles are overlapping each other, so you just got to keep going lower. There is one here as well. So here is another demand zone, right? But the problem with that one is it's not the closest to the origin of the overall move. These are always going to be the stronger zones where you have that inefficiency just ahead of the demand zone. So that's going to be the best bet. Price can bounce off this and move to the upside, but it's just higher probability it's going to keep searching for the closest inefficiency. And there's that little fair value gap there. So a little tiny, but yeah, again, I'm personally waiting for that bigger decrease. I want cheaper crab legs, right? The market searches for the cheapest crab legs possible. So that's basically what I'd be looking at there. I hope that helps. But yeah, hopefully, yeah, we'll see if it can turn around for you. I mean, if we're looking at the smallest time frame, 15 minutes, one of the smaller time frames, you see where we do have a little bit of demand that kind of built up here, kind of down here where it's obviously kind of flirting with your stop loss below. But, this is really reaching for straws here, trying to trust this 15-minute demand when it's technically in a downtrend at the moment, right? A short-term downtrend. But you do have a little bit of an inefficient market right there. That yellow, so that space between this candle and the bottom of this candle. So as you can see, it's come through. It has touched the demand. I mean, it is a demand zone, but it's not that strong, because when price left, it wasn't strong enough to break through a previous zone or break through a previous resistance point. So, but you cross your fingers and see if that'll at least push it back up. I wouldn't give it a whole lot of chance, because it's technically in a downtrend when you're looking at the pullback. So hopefully that helps, my friend. Yeah, good luck on that one. Hopefully it just limits your loss and you'll be good to go, brother. On to the next one.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see here.
Definitely. I got stopped out of my ES trade for the tiniest of gains, but then I re-entered back in long now. So
Nice.
I am looking for it to go back up here. So classic me, gotta got to see where I am wrong or right, and then reassess and maybe jump back in or don't jump back in. It's this is a tricky time of the market. The Nasdaq likes to jump around a bit and be a little bit confusing. So trying to read the order flow as best as I can to understand whether or not we're going to go try to take out the 6680 level, but it is
Mm-hmm.
pretty tough. So I would say logically and from a relatively probably wise perspective would be if it's this tough to be reading, then maybe you just stay away and you stay out of the
Right.
market. You just kind of watch things, you see how they work out, and if you missed out, you miss out. If not, then you made a good call by sitting on your hands. You know, there's always the market's always going to be there tomorrow. So,
There's always
no,
another play around
not
the corner.
necessarily right,
Yeah.
exactly. So for sure. But in the meantime, I'm in the long, so might as well. I got a really small stop loss here, and we'll let it play out for a little bit. See if the Nasdaq can't help push us up here.
Cool, cool. Well, I'll just run through my two setups real quick, and just let me know if we
Cool.
need to flip it on over. Since mine are the longer time frames, I can always come back to them. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, so pound Aussie. Just going back to my top setups page real quick. Okay, so pound Aussie is giving me a -5. Got a lot of red on the COT. So the banks favored the Aussie dollar more than the pound on the latest COT report right here. So add to that the contrarian signal, which is where the average retail trader is net long the pound Aussie dollar. Seasonality is poor for this pair. Trend is down. GDP report was a miss. Now you had one positive fundamental report. So this is the one knock on this trade, this short idea, is that everything was pretty well neutral, but you even had just one. You had one report that actually favored the pound over the Aussie, and that was the CPI. So not really getting a whole lot of help from the fundamental score, but this is why we look at everything as a collective whole. This sentiment analysis is the COT report and the retail sentiment, the retail traders. That's its own sentiment analysis. And then you start going into the technical analysis, obviously with the trend, and then the fundamental analysis with these nine, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 major reports: GDP, the PMI, inflation data, the jobs numbers, interest rates, all that. So this whole thing is going to change as of starting Tuesday, but yeah, especially Wednesday when the U.S. interest rates drop. So that's this. But when it changes, it's just changing one thing, right? It's just changing one of my reports I look at. So it's obviously we're going to have a ton of volatility. That's a no question. But at some point, that volatility will straighten out. And I'm going to lean heavily on the collective whole of the reports, not just the one. Now, interest rates can be fishy. It can be crazy for a while, kind of similar to the NFP, and just completely turning this upside down. So that's fine. We'll just reevaluate it after the release. We don't know if we're getting 25 or 50 points. It's looking pretty close. It's looking pretty likely we'll get the 25. But either way, there's going to be some people wishing there was 50. Or if we get a 50, there's going to be people wishing it was 25. So there's going to be a lot of earthquake telemetry machine action on the charts for sure. But yeah, just looking at the pound Aussie back again. Yeah, you can see all the crazy arrows up here. Like I said, I had problems getting into the trade. I got into it, but then I closed it because everything was just off. So, but then I finally got in on that third red arrow. So just kind of looking at this top down, same thing, downtrend ever since August 20th. It looks like 4 hours, 1 hour. I got supply zone from this big red candle here with the wicks on both sides. So that's 1 hour supply. And then we go down to some smaller time frames, 15. And inside of the fifth, or inside of, well, actually, I guess 30 minutes is probably where I identified it. Yeah. So then we had a 30-minute supply within the 1 hour supply. So that's providing the confluence I like to see. We even had an extra zone up top here. I think that was a 5 minutes. But I decided to take the 15-minute. Where am I at here? There we go. I ended up taking the sell on the 15 minutes. So yeah. So we technically had a 5-minute candle up here with a little bit of a fair value gap. But I decided to take the whole, I decided to sell on the 15-minute tap in and then put my stop loss ahead of the 5-minute, just in case it decided to go find that farthest zone. Because again, technically there was a little bit of inefficiency in here. Not a whole lot, but just enough to where I thought, well, I better put my stop above here and not just above the 15-minute zone. And then obviously the most conservative would have been to put it ahead of the 1 hour, right? But I wanted to keep my R&R fairly decent. Small position. Could have always moved it up if I wanted to, but as you can see, we did catch our ask up here. So let me just go to this real quick. Okay, and then I'm going to go down to 1 minute, actually, just so we can really drill down this sucker, see where we're at. So, yeah, we had the price. So I actually got a little bit better fill since I screwed it up the first couple of times. But in the process of trying to get into this trade, it actually had formed a 1 minute supply with a pretty nice gap down. So we're in the small time frames, pulling out our magnifying glass, but pretty nice gap. So I got into the trade here there. I was already committed. And then as you can see, price technically came up, touched the 1 minute. To the pipette. And then that's where it finally started to turn around and go south for me. I actually drew this little projection tool up, and I think I kind of nailed it. Right? I drew that up.
Oh, nice.
Right?
Nice. Yeah.
I should probably go play the lottery since I nailed that. But yeah, that's exactly how I drew it up, and it obeyed me, I guess. Thank you, trading gods. But yeah, kept making lower lows, lower highs on the way down. Now we have kind of curled up a little bit, so it's kind of making that little U shape. I guess that's technically a double top right there with this point here. So I'll be okay with staying in this trade so long as we don't break above there. That's why I went ahead and dropped my stop loss, or my stop loss. Went ahead and moved it down. So once we had made a few lower lows here, I went ahead and dropped it down to the break even. And then when I started to see this leg push up above these highs, that's when I just decided I'm not going to get too greedy with pound Aussie. I'm just going to drop my stop loss about 5 pips above it. And at this point, it'll just do what it does. It'll either stop me out for a small win, or it'd be nice if we dropped to the demand zone, because I have my take profit just ahead of this 5-minute demand right over here to the left. So that's basically was an eyeball. And actually, I think, more so looking at it on a 15-minute. Yeah, here we go. 15-minute demand right there. So just trying to play the devil's advocate, if I'm a bank and I'm trying to buy this market, even though I know it's in a downtrend, if I'm trying to buy this market, well, I see that we have this low point here, and you got buyers in this area that put their stop losses down here, right? So they're putting their stop losses inside of a demand zone. Their stop losses are sell orders, which the banks need to fill their buy orders, along with any remaining unfilled orders in this area from people that missed out. So I could definitely see price touching that zone, collecting these stops underneath, and then pushing price the other way. So that's why I have my take profit there, obviously ahead of the zone, but also down there where they have to come and collect any liquidity, a little liquidity sweep. So, perhaps they can turn this into a spring candle down here. That's just trying to play the other side to see where, my trade could potentially be done.
Yeah.
So yeah. I could definitely see that happen, to go up there if they wanted to flip it around. But yeah, 1 hour supply, 15-minute supply inside. 5-minute supply just ahead. So I just incorporated all that. That's confluences. That's fair value gaps coming out of the zone. That's close to the origin of this overall move, right? So that was a pretty good trade. So we'll just let it play the rest of the way out and do whatever it does. Come on, magnet, do your job.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get,
Come on.
get the magnet to
Come on.
do the rest of the heavy work for me.
I will say real
All right,
quick, I want the production back end update. I'm not in a position anymore. My P&L is 166 at the moment. So I unfortunately, well, what I did was I got out of the position for another small, tiny little gain. The re-entry, it's actually going in my favor now. But the Nasdaq, again, like I was saying, I was like, you know what? Why am I in this trade? If things look very wonky and weird, and I don't feel nearly as confident as I did when I was, entering previously. I should just be out of this regardless of the situation. So I took my own advice, got out. Um, it's going into my favor. Like if I was still in the trade, it would be, a green trade and good and everything. But it's just best to, especially when you're already green on the quiet markets here, to not, play anything too riskily, and just kind of reassess, get out of the position and reassess. So yeah, but the Nasdaq is going up right now, and the ES is trying to break through its high of day. So I'm currently just looking at gold, but yeah. Sorry, Tiger. Just a quick little update on my end.
I don't think I've ever heard the word riskily used. Yeah.
I make a lot of words up, so you'll probably hear plenty more, to be quite honest.
Nice. I like it. All right. Let's talk insomnia trades real quick. All right. So Bitcoin, obviously, let's go reset this whole thing. Yeah, just kind of looking at this more recent upswing since the end of August. Obviously, it's been in a little bit of an uptrend. Now, we do have 4-hour supply up here, again, at the origin of the overall move, with fair value gap below it. So that represents a strong zone. Get my magnet out of the way for a minute. So price had come up. Yeah, I guess that would have been Friday midday, my time. Midday for me here in the States. For us here in the States. And it tapped it on the 4 hours. So if I went down to the 5-minute, just again observing that it hit that higher time frame zone. So I was definitely anticipating a pullback to one of the higher time frame up moves, which I had. Actually, I think that was a 1 hour. Yeah. So I was looking at this. So we had a 1 hour demand inside of a 4 hour. If I move that to a 4 hour, you'd see one candle here. There were maybe even two candles, but so that was definitely a buy point. Price came up, tapped in. So now I'm looking for price to go back down to find this demand. Well, in the wake of tapping into the higher time frame zone, okay, 4 hour zones are strong enough to at least get a good reaction the opposite way. So I went to 5 minutes and just played both sides of this, essentially, is what I was looking to do. But again, I didn't want to get too greedy, considering I was trading middle of the night. So yeah, just looking down on a 15-minute, okay, a little bit of a supply zone right here, except it had already been touched. So it closed that inefficiency. So we have inefficiency, or we have efficient market going through all this. And then we had the next inefficiency right here. So we had that red candle, that green candle together, little bit of a gap, not a ton of gap, but a little bit of a gap from here to here. So again, not very big, but a gap nevertheless, right? So I decided to go back down to my 5 minute and just get in that zone to the downside. So on this 5 minutes, tapped in. So yeah, it'd have been 5:10 a.m. my time. How crazy! And yeah, and then I just wrote it down to this this 4 hour 1 hour zone. Let's see, yeah, all the way down to here. So it pierced the 1 hour, and that's where I got out of this trade. So, and like, and again, I was kind of looking to I was looking to buy the market too, but I decided I better not press my luck. So that one trade was enough. That was enough for me. So that was that Bitcoin trade. Now fast forward to this morning. Yeah, I went ahead and took that trade on the 1 hour. Because again, down here we got inefficiency from the top of this candle to the bottom of this candle on 1 hour. So that's a really strong inefficiency. Markets like closing inefficiencies. Markets like closing gaps. We all hear this all the time, right? So
Right.
it kind of pierced into the gap at one point, but then it failed to come down to the zone. So that's what I was waiting for. And then we got price to come back down into the zone. Tapped in here. Actually got into two separate trades here because I got in it and I'm like, that's a tiny trade. So let's add some more. So yeah, got a nice push up pretty much during while I was sleeping today. And again, it's similar to the pound Aussie. It's kind of rolling over, made a new lower low, lower high. But now it looks like we've made another higher high. So we'll see how this one works out. But same thing. I just pulled this stop loss a little higher than this entry, and then this stop loss a little higher than this entry. So I averaged in, yeah, like I said, about 114,600 or so. Or no, I'm sorry, actually did it. Yeah, that's right. 114,600, about my average cost in. So yeah, I would have liked to see this thing push a little harder. It's not really pushing as fast as I like it. So I could definitely see this thing rolling over. But yeah, obviously the goal is to get up here where I got a couple different take profits just ahead of this overhead supply. So yeah, that's where I sat today. Can't lose any money though, so that's always good when you lock in at least something.
Right.
At least something to pay
Right.
you.
Yeah. Of course.
But yeah, just taking a quick look at the COT, wherever I have it here. I got so many reports on here. Where's it at? Do not have it. I might have to. Oh, here it is. Yeah, so just looking at the COT, they did increase their long percentage on the Dow Jones. So that was really the big winner. As always, this COT report's released on Fridays. It's accurate as of the Tuesday prior, so 3 days prior to the Friday release, accurate through the previous Tuesday, so 3 to 10 days previous. It's a little weird how they do it, but I always like to preface that because it is technically a little bit of delayed reporting, right? Almost a lagging indicator, if you will. But big banks, when they jump into their trades, they're typically in for a lot longer than you and I, right? Several days, several weeks, several months. So yes, it is a lagging indicator if you're looking at it from a 3, 4, 5 day perspective, but they're in for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They do position trading. I mean, they have prop traders and their algos that do a ton of the trades as well. But as far as the overall positioning, this is where this stands. So, but yeah, increased on the Dow. Is that pretty accurate? You're the
no,
institution
I was
guy.
going to say the only thing I was going to add was, and in certain markets, based if that the data is lagged by that amount of time, it's lagged by it's like a week and a week and 2 days or whatever it is. Based on that time that is lagged and having paid attention to the trading sessions in between that lag time, you can kind of get a feel for how those positions might change over a lot of experience, at screen time experience and just understanding, especially in more liquid markets. especially when you get down to the lower liquidity markets, you can understand, okay, is this more like do we believe that speculators are exiting more of this, or like, because if like open interest is if you're looking at open interest, for example, as well as like a possible indicator, quote unquote, especially with the liquid markets, you can kind of understand whether the speculators are exiting or whether the commercials are exiting and whatnot. And it takes a little bit of getting used to, of course, with watching the markets and getting to know its personality and understanding how orders are being executed and whatnot. But yeah, I think it is a lagging indicator, quote unquote, but it's very helpful. Like you were saying, it still is very helpful
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah, and I always throw the disclaimer out. This is not the end all be all to me. Again, this is just one of those little boxes on my top setups. But I probably say it every single week, but it's so true. The big banks and institutions are the ones that are making all the money. So if you can't beat them, join them. Right. So it is one of my favorite indicators, but definitely not the end all be all. But yeah, just to finish out here, the Dow and the yen and the NASDAQ and the Nikkei were the real top winners as far as increases on their longs. Now, so yeah, the Dow increased 3,100 contracts. They increased a modest amount of short contracts as well, but you calculate it all out, 7.38% change. So, pretty good for the Dow. Now they're pretty well evenly split. So they got 10,000 longs, 12,000 shorts overall. So still technically net short about 53%, right? Yen, pretty long overall, 180,000 to the 89,000 short. But yeah, the net change was 3.73% to the positive. NASDAQ, it was 3%, 2.79. So, and then you flip to the other side, the Swiss franc was the biggest sell-off, minus 3.36%. And they're pretty heavily net short, the Swiss franc. 35,000 futures contracts to the 7,000 pretty much long. So, yeah, 83% short. All right. So pretty substantial number. Yeah. New Zealand, yep, minus 3.19%. So it's always just cool to see, to see where the big banks are positioned. Gold, they had a modest increase of 1%. As far as the U.S. indices themselves, obviously you had the Dow and the NASDAQ net long, but then you had the Russell and the S&P net short. So a little bit of a mixed bag when you're looking at just the U.S. indices. It's nice to see when they're net long, 3 or 4 of them, just to give a little bit better of a signal, in my opinion, to be keeping more attention placed on the indices. But I personally haven't been paying attention to the indices for a couple of weeks until today, because I did see on my watch list that everything shook out, and now we got NASDAQ back on the bullish train here. It's just a +5.
Ooh.
I'm gonna start to keep an eye on it, but I really like to start trading these things when they're up in the 6s and the 7s and the 8s. Get as many of the probabilities in our favor, right? That's why the top of the list is the most important, along with the bottom of the list if we're looking at bearish. So got 6 items that are 9 or higher. 9 or higher is very bullish. 8 to 5 is bullish. So it's all about, for me this week, paying as much attention to all the Aussie pairs as I can, because all of the Aussie pairs where they're the base currency are giving me a buy signal, and yeah, the other 2 that are the quote currency are giving me shorts. All right, so
yeah,
we got some Aussie strength at the moment. And then obviously here's our map. The pound actually leads the way, where they've exceeded expectations on their fundamental reports on 83% of them. But then you have the Aussie right there, 71%. But on the flip side, the dollar's looking not so good. They've only exceeded expectations on 22% of their reports. Down in the dumps with the Swissy and the CAD dollar. So not looking the
Hmm.
greatest. Looking at the U.S. specific economic heat map, um, yeah, just a whole bunch of red over here for the currency itself. Last bullish report we had was on September 4th, which was the services PMI. But ever since then, everything else has
Yeah.
been given either neutral or bearish ratings for the currency. So it's 22%, but at zero for inflation and jobs, right? This is exactly why we're getting our rate cut.
Right.
Again, whether it's 25 or 50. Growth is okay. Growth has been steady or average or neutral, however you want to look at that. But the inflation, the jobs numbers, ugh, it's hideous.
Yeah. Not good.
Not good
Not
at
no
all. So that's
bueno.
why yeah. So that's why I'm long gold overall, long the Aussie dollar because of the setups and um, yeah, just looking at shorter time frames on things like Bitcoin.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
hopefully
want to
that
join you on
helps
that
everybody.
train.
Oh yeah,
I want to
which
join you
train?
on that. On the Bitcoin train. I'm going to try to. I'm. It's going to happen sooner or later. I'm going to try to trade the Bitcoin futures. I'll try to intraday trade the Bitcoin futures at some point. But
Yeah,
I've been itching to try it. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Honestly, there's just been so much to pay attention to that I was just like,
yeah,
keep Bitcoin on the side burner, but I will give it a go sooner than later. Do have a I do have a if you are good with me sharing my screen, I do have something
yeah,
that I like to see what your opinion is on
absolutely,
here
yeah, absolutely.
as it starts to possibly rip up. This is gold since about
Mm,
between 12 o'clock and 12 p.m. Eastern time and now. Look at that little support area that we've touched
that's
now.
beautiful.
Well, I'm considering it support now that we've 1, 2, 3, 4 come into that area 5 times between 37.15 and 37.16. Looks like we're bouncing off of it again, but you wonder one wonders how many times can that be touched before it breaks through, or will it break through?
Hmm.
Maybe it won't ever break through. Maybe it'll just be such strong support that it gets held there and then does pop back up. But with how big of a rejection we had just literally 1 hour ago, part of me doesn't believe that we are just going to start flying upwards in this overnight session and break the highs. Part of me feels like it wants, I mean, there's a reason that we've gotten back down to this point so many times. But, as I say that, we've rallied a couple bucks already per ounce here. So
Hmm.
maybe, I don't know, maybe we don't break through it, but part of me wants
Yeah.
to get in on the action whenever maybe we see kind of in this area here.
Well,
Maybe we kind of see
yeah.
sellers step up in the 37.20 to 37.22 area, and then maybe I can look to get short at some point if structure starts to look a little weak, and look to get short back down at least into that zone of 37.15, 37.16. Um, wouldn't be the worst trade per se, but it is odd how
Yeah.
clean this looks. It looks very clean,
Yeah.
like super clean.
Yeah, it does.
So, un- unfortunately, I haven't been paying attention to it too much during this whole time where it's ranged relatively nicely. But yeah, my long that I was in earlier, right at the beginning of the session, was up here. This is where I got long in that little box that I just made right there, that I'm
Yeah.
now hovering over at 37.23 half, and then I got to the breakout of the high and got out, and then Look at what happened. I mean, I could have wrote it up for a couple more bucks for sure. I could have made a couple hundred more, but as soon as it wicked up there, it just slammed back down. And as I'm saying this, look, look what we're kind of doing here. We had a little bit of a some negative delta coming in here pretty strongly to try and shove gold back down here, but this is a battle. I mean, I think I'm going to stay out of gold honestly for the rest of the night because this looks like a just a a brutal battle between buyers and sellers, to be quite honest. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, maybe if something super
Yeah.
clean does pop up and in like in the 3721 area, it really looks like it wants to just break down again, then I might get into a short. But yeah, I can't really see too much of a trade at the moment. I'm seeing the delta just go all crazy right now on my heat map stuff that I have, and it's like so chaotic. It's very um, confusing and it's hard to read again. So that kind of stems from today's session for us for the traders in the that were in the futures session today. A lot of us, Sam was the only one that was ended up green on the day. The rest of us ended up red. We were all green in the morning, and then the afternoon chopped us up to bits. But point being was it was very confusing towards the end of the day with the futures markets. So I'm not surprised that gold is doing the same thing right now, and the equities indices are also kind of being a little confusing at the moment. So, or at least the ESs specifically, and the Dow. But then the Nasdaq's got a little bit more trend to it in the overnight, so it's not as bad for the Nasdaq.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So I don't really got
Yeah.
much else
Well,
at the moment.
yeah. I mean, if that were to work out, then it's it would probably be helped by that little demand zone candle that you had there. About, I guess it'd probably be 1945 your time. That
Let's
15
look
minute.
here.
I'm gonna get a guess that'd be, yeah, 1945. That last blue candle down before that big spike up.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Okay.
that could be
So the last blue. Yeah. Right here.
1940. Yeah. Well, no, it'd be 1945 your time.
Okay. Here. Yeah.
Yeah, that blue
Gotcha.
candle, and then you had that big push up that broke the highs to the left. Got a fair value gap.
Hmm.
If it were to work, then that would be possibly why. But I would personally be a little leery about it because it has touched that same spot so many times. It's kind of a highly heated debate. How many times, like, the more a trend line hits or support or resistance, does it get stronger? Does it get weaker? Right. That's obviously a
Right.
big debate. You got some people saying the more times the weaker it gets, the more times the stronger it gets. Um, yeah, at the end of the
Yeah.
day, I just look for a zone to form and go off of it. But
Right.
yeah, I would be flipping a
Yeah.
coin on that demand zone. Yeah, me personally.
Right. I think at this point, I would definitely agree with you. I don't. I think a trend line would be different than a support and resistance. Like a trend line. I feel like being touched multiple times. I don't know about that one. That's interesting, but I feel. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't done enough back testing to really know the stats behind it, but generally speaking,
Mm-hmm.
at least what I do from a market profile standpoint, um, on like a 30-minute time frame, the more times you touch an area and that area is a low or a high and is being acted as support or resistance, that it's generally being chipped away at. Like eventually it will break,
Right. Right.
whether it happens within the session, within the regular trading hour session, or the next day or the day after that. Like reparate, like what you would call like repairing the auction would be something that is generally looked for, because it's very odd for price to be held at a certain point for an extended period of time, like multiple times throughout a larger period of time, and to never have a bit of like what you would call like excess, where things get a little bit heated and then you break through that to just understand like the exploration of price below it or above that, above resistance or below the support, just to understand
Mhm.
comfort. And then it might pop back up if it genuinely is true support, or it would pop back down if it was true resistance. So I lean towards the camp of it would eventually break, but that doesn't, who knows what eventually is, right? Like I don't know what the
Right.
time frame of eventually would be. That could be in it could be in 10 minutes time, it could be in 10 days time. I don't know. But but yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I would be a little bit more weary, just like you, on the demand zone, like buying down there. I'm not gonna be the one that buys that and then gets crushed in the overnight. So
Yeah, I mean,
I'll
if that
yeah.
demand zone formed underneath all that support, then that'd be a better looking story. But because it happened, and heck, even if you go back to your 1445 down blue candle, right? That's yeah, the 1445. So that's technically a
Yep.
demand as well because you did have that little fair value gap above it. But the problem with that one is it went up to that resistance and was not able to break those highs. But it's
Right.
still by definition a demand zone. It's just not a strong one. So yeah, it definitely is not one I would have taken. And the creation of that one that's trying to push up at the moment formed from the resistance from that demand zone. So if that zone were underneath all that, I'd definitely be interested in possibly taking a stab at it because it's buying under all that liquidity. I mean, all those people buying right there on that support, obviously they're putting their stops below. So yeah, for it to be just part of the part of the support, yeah, that in its own is what's keeping me out of that trade. But
Yeah.
But it looks
Yeah.
beautiful though, nevertheless, right now. that support.
Right. Right. Yeah. And and then on top of that, I mean, this resistance of sorts, like where a lot of this volume has taken place and we've only broken out of and then popped back down below it once, is
Yep.
really looking nice now too. You can see with this 15-minute
Yeah.
candle developing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
sellers, it was starting to look really strong on the order flow as of like 4 minutes ago. Lots of positive buy delta were coming in very consistently there. And then all of a sudden, again, just like became super chaotic. And then the buyers just gave up out of nowhere. Buyers gave up and then light volume to sell it back down. Like it's sold back down on way less volume than the buying brought it up. So kind of interesting, kind of a little bit of a conundrum here. I think we're just stuck in this, whatever this support resistance range is of 5 or so points until we break through one of them. And it feels to me more so like we're going to break the support, not break up through the resistance. That's just my personal bias. Obviously not making a trade off of it. I would already be in the trade if I was, but just for fun, we will keep an eye on it to see what does happen. But yeah,
Yeah. Can you repeat that? So you said, did you say the which candle dropped on lower volume? Did I don't
this
think I
one
heard you
that's
correctly on that.
still this one that the 10 p.m. Eastern candle that's forming right now that still has 3 minutes left on it. This
Oh, the
wick
one
up
that's
here,
the current one, the
yeah,
current
the
candle.
current one that's still forming.
Oh, okay. I
Yeah,
got you.
that
Yeah,
drop that
because I
it
was.
kind of had back down to the open of the
Mhm.
candle really was on like lower volume, whereas the buying to get it up to 37.21 had some nice positive,
Gotcha.
like bigger positive delta. But now see, like we got back down to the open of that candle and like actually a little bit below it. And then we just a bunch of negative delta came in, a bunch of aggressive sellers came in, and then we popped right a little bit back up. We popped up to $2. Like this is just true chop. Like this is genuine chop.
Yep.
Um, Unless you're really
Chop
good at
City.
playing small ranges and you can, pinpoint little tops and bottoms, like this is just something to kind of stay out of. It's a little bit more headache than it is, fun or good to trade. So,
Yeah. Yeah. If you have a throwaway account like Coach Michael does, right? He's got his little gambling account. He calls
right,
it. That's something where you know, definitely money that you do not care about losing. Because I could see
right,
getting down in there on a 1 minute time frame and playing around with zones and making sure I got the gaps. But no, I wouldn't be interested in it because it's just either way the risk reward is not that great. That big blue candle that you had an hour ago. I mean, looking at the VSA
right.
candles, that was a very strong. That the volume spread analysis candle on that candle was it was twice the size of the previous several candles. So that's a strong move downward, kind of getting close to back into that demand zone that I pointed out, the 1945 candle. The candle right
Yeah,
after was about half the volume, but it was also half the size. So, yeah, I mean, just seeing how quickly it came back in, that's another reason that kept me out of wanting to get into that long position. So,
right, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's
just
like
good to
a
sit back and watch.
that if you were to like have punched in long there after that huge candle down back into that support, that was like a push the button and hold your breath. Like you push and then
Yeah.
and you just like hope that the support acts and does something and you pop back up and you can make $3 or $4 immediately per ounce and be done with it within like 5 minutes or so. But I mean, obviously, we don't like to be getting into trades that make us feel like we have to hold our breath or anything. So we're not going to be taking those
Yeah.
very much at all.
Now,
So
yeah. So now on the flip side of that, so like I said, that big ugly blue candle was twice the volume. If that big ugly candle had less volume on the way down than those previous 3, 4, 5 candles, then that's where effort's not meeting the result.
yeah,
So I could have very easily seen price pop off that 15-minute demand zone candle if the volume was the other
hmm
way around. But because it was so strong, no, heck no, it's a freight train. You want to stay out of the way of the freight train.
yeah.
But when price
Especially
flies up or
after,
flies down on low volume, when price goes up or down really fast on small volume, then
mhm,
is even that strong? No, it's typically a fake move or a false move because you don't have the
yeah,
volume to support the
yeah,
action. So effort versus result.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Agreed. And especially, but and then on top of that, like after this candle at 9:30, so 9:30 p.m. to 9:45 p.m. it encompassed that time frame. After that candle closed, it was on good volume still, and you would like getting long after that candle to me. That's that seems even risky because it feels like you had the pop up there and then aggressors selling aggressors just immediately came back in. We closed the candle lower. It looks like as if you want to try to get through now, like okay, this is the push to get through that support, and then all of a sudden it doesn't happen. But like and so whoever did get long, obviously kudos, but that just looked like a setup to possibly just really rocket through the support. So maybe because of it not doing that, and then we came back up to this little minor resistance area, maybe that's a bullish thing. Maybe the fact that the sellers tried so hard to get through there in that last attempt and couldn't do it, maybe that is more so a signal for somebody to get long here in this like chop zone
Yeah.
and put their stop below the support
Yeah.
and and look to retest the highs or break through this little resistance area of 37.20 to 37.22. I could see an argument for that at this point now, having seen the order flow and the volume of this last 30 minutes or so that's come about. So this is an
Mm-hmm.
interesting one. I like this one. I like this, like, kind
Yeah.
of, it's almost like a case study of sorts in real time that we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out.
And just for some added context, I mean, Bitcoin is, as far as my scoring system goes, it's neutral, but it is a +1. So, not enough to, not anywhere close to enough to, wait, I'm sorry, gold. I was thinking Bitcoin in my head. No, yeah, gold is a bullish 9. So yeah, it's definitely one of
Yeah.
my top setups. I don't know why I had Bitcoin in my head. So, but yeah, I mean, just because I have something that's giving me a very bullish or very bearish bias, it doesn't mean go out and just blindly buy or sell. I mean, yeah, it's all got to match up. I mean, gold is very
Yeah.
overpriced. Gold is overextended when you're looking at RSI. But, and I don't know if I mentioned it on this show yet or not, but just because gold is overbought when you're looking at RSI does not mean go out there and sell it. Because it's ignored
Mm-hmm.
every single overbought signal from your RSI, just going back years, literally. Just go look at the moment gold goes overbought, like on almost every single time frame, and you'll see that price didn't
Yep.
care; it kept going up and up. So,
Yep.
gold is definitely not something for the overbought and oversold traders on RSI to be playing with, because it oversold, yes, a little different on oversold, but this thing's just a runaway freight train over the past X amount of years, even with that slowdown we had after the Liberation Day tariffs went on. I mean, obviously we're back through all that, and this thing is just going crazy. I just want to
Right.
pull back.
Right.
I
Yeah.
mean, my first alert's all the way down at, as far as the XAU USD, all the way down at 3634 level, 3,634. So I need a big discount. Actually, well, that's not that big a
Yeah.
discount. 1.3% discount down to
Yeah.
September 15th.
I mean, sometimes these markets aren't going to give it to you. It is what it is. Like,
Yep.
like
Yep.
you're doing, you stick to your strategy and your plan and your framework of sorts. And if it doesn't come to you, then oh well. There's other
Say
opportunities.
la
There's,
vie.
like, 25 other opportunities that you I know you're looking out for. So there's always something for you to be participating in. So
Yeah.
not a huge deal, but it would be,
I
of
got about
course,
35 alerts set right
yeah,
now. So I got plenty of things to keep my eye on.
an absolute madman. You're a madman. It's
Actually, I think I got
everything's
about
dinging in your
30.
ears
Yeah. Oh,
constantly.
yeah. I'm always getting dings on the screen, and they're loud too. I just got to figure out how to. Well, I shouldn't mess with my sleep, but yeah, sometimes I wished I could hear the alerts while I'm sleeping, but I need to just
You need
check.
you need the
Gotta
Neuralink.
check
You need
out.
the Neuralink so that it immediate
Yeah.
the link or the alerts go into your Neuralink, and then your brain subconsciously executes orders for you while you're sleeping, and then you wake up and you're just a ton of cash is sitting right next to your bed.
A professional sleeper.
Exactly. Oh
That
my
would be the
god.
life. That would be the life,
Oh
wouldn't it?
yeah. Sign up for that.
I'd be afraid
Just
of
let me
life
know when you
getting,
get that Neuralink.
life getting that lazy to where you don't even have to get out of bed. Nah, we got to have a reason to get out of bed. Nah, it's got to
A
shut
hundred
off. It's
percent,
good to
of
shut off.
course.
It's good to shut off.
No doubt. No doubt about
I
it.
mean,
How was I meant to ask you, not trading related, but really quick. So you watch any football this weekend, or watch
Um,
any?
just a tiny bit. Um, spent a lot of time sleeping. We had a big pool party
Yeah,
on Saturday, so Sunday I didn't really watch
nice.
hardly any, to be honest. I think I watched a few minutes of our Chiefs game, but they were getting their butts spanked by the champs. So it's just interesting to see how the torch is
Yeah,
passed. Yep, and
of
0 and
course.
2, and
Right.
my Titans, they can't seem to get anything to work. So yeah, season hasn't started off very well for our teams. My teams I watch, but
Oh, dude, yeah, I mean, the Jags, dude. That's why I wanted to. I share in your pain. The Jags
oh
are
yeah,
just so, you know, we can't beat the Bengals when Joe Burrow isn't playing. They've got Jake Browning or whatever, and Jake
yeah,
Browning
oh
is
yeah,
leading the Bengals to a win against the Jags, because the guy that we pay $55 million to lead this team for some reason can't take us to the promised land of a win against a backup quarterback.
yeah.
So that's really cool.
Yeah, Jake
But
Browning looked like Joe Burrow there for a while.
yeah, man. Yeah, man. But
That's
this is why I have such low expectations. So very low
yeah, yeah.
expectations for the Jags.
Well, at least our team's got the top
Uh,
one and top two pick, right?
yeah, right, right. We'll
Yeah,
see.
may
We
not
could only
be
be so lucky, to be
for,
honest.
you know what that means? We got the two worst teams, and we're still smiling.
Exactly. There's something to smile about, of course.
Yeah,
Like you said, those
gotta
top
laugh
two
about it.
picks, man. I'll smile. I'll smile to the bank with those picks. Are you kidding me? Give me
Hell, we
some
might
hope.
even have top one and two next year too.
Dude, wouldn't surprise me. Wouldn't
No,
surprise.
it
Our
wouldn't.
division stinks. Our division stinks. It is
Yeah, and
probably
I
the
think the
worst
Texans
division, if
just got
not.
beat too. So, uh,
Yeah.
and the Colts are looking pretty good with Daniel freaking Jones. They might end up winning the
Yeah,
division.
man. I think they're going to, honestly. I think they're going to.
That's just crazy.
So ridiculous, man.
Um,
So ridiculous.
well, if you like, I can actually. I know we got half hour left. I can take a look at a few other of my alerts just that
Yeah.
I'm keeping an eye on. If you like, yeah, back
Sounds
in.
good.
We'll flip it on over and we'll check back in on gold here in a bit and see who won, the buyers or the sellers. Okay, Bitcoin. Yeah, I was just going to take a. Oh, looks like I did end up getting out of my one trade. Okay, pound Aussie. All right, so I did get out of that. Okay, perfect. So pound Aussie did end up closing that. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at? Okay, I got out at a good price. So yeah, back in if you can, just flip on over. And I think I nailed the stop loss because after it hit my stop loss, which was obviously in profit, it just kept on going. So we'll show that here in
Mhm.
just a second. As soon as we get my chart up. Do, 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 do. I'm ready for NBA already. Ready for my Grizzlies to see what they can do this year. Pretty excited for it. I'm already
Yeah.
over the NFL.
Right. 2 games in and you're just done. You're like, you know what? All right. Well, there goes all hope. That's
I mean,
sounds
I'll probably
about
still
right,
play around with
honestly.
some of the DraftKings bets, but outside of that, let's
Yeah.
just get some progression out of our rookies. That way they can do some more contributing next year. I like Cam Ward, though. I think he had one heck of a touchdown pass yesterday. Just obviously was not enough overall, but throwing across his
Right.
body to the opposite side of the field, this little teardrop touchdown, it was beautiful. So good sign of things to
Yeah.
come.
He he just needs probably a good year of just getting comfortable, and then I definitely think he could have a decent future in the division for sure. Um,
No.
you know, at least you're not paying them $55 million
Yeah.
per year. Gosh,
Yet
I
he'll probably be the
just,
highest paid Titan here in a couple of years,
yeah,
few years,
yeah,
ever. No doubt on that.
man.
With plays like that.
I mean, uh, I'm looking for Arch Manning. That's all I'm holding out hope for. It can,
Oh
but
yeah.
honestly, I'm not even holding out hope for that. Honestly, realistically, because the Saints are so bad that they are likely going to be the ones that get the number one pick. I think honestly,
The
they're terrible. I mean,
the
I
who?
make fun
Oh,
of the Jags and the Saints.
oh, the Saints. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah,
They're
I don't know what
starting
they were thinking
Spencer
on their
Rattler.
quarterback. I know,
Yeah,
like
I
what the
mean,
heck were they thinking?
guy is terrible.
Are they tanking already to try to get Arch? That could be
I
it,
think so.
because that's where his father played. I mean, his grandfather. Wait,
Right.
whose son is Arch? Is it Peyton? Is it
The one
Eli?
that didn't play football,
Oh,
it's their nephew. Yeah.
okay. So the other
So
brother got it.
yeah, so the other brother that had like a freak accident or whatever or something where he couldn't
Yeah.
play professionally, but supposedly he was like the best football player of them all, uh,
Oh
in
well.
terms of both athleticism and like you know brain ability, but then had something wrong with his back and then couldn't play professionally or
Uh,
whatever. So that's his
okay. That
son,
makes sense.
and yeah, yeah.
Got it. Got it. All right. Well, back end, if you're there, go ahead and pass back over to my screen, if you would,
Come on,
so I can
come
go
on,
through a couple
production,
goodies here.
please.
Por favor.
They left. They left
They
for the night.
gone.
They're gone.
Yep.
They're gone.
They gone. All right. Well,
Oh
that's a
my
perfect
gosh.
looking M on your chart.
Oh, that's
That,
this is
now
Bitcoin
that I look
too.
at it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's
Nice.
see. 30-minute time frame here. Yeah. I don't know what to do with that though, to be quite honest. I feel like the M occurred and then we consolidated, popped back up a little bit, consolidating. Like I don't know what I'd do with that to be fair.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
was my
Yeah.
original
Like I said.
thought, by the way, when you go out to the 4 hour, when we were trading in this purple box right here, is when I drew this pathing that we have that I never deleted, I guess. This kind of inverted head
Yeah.
and shoulders of sorts. So it's kind of playing out. It's playing out pretty well. It might have played out fully at this point, and who knows? We could be now going back to the downside, but we could also just be consolidating here for another run up to maybe 120,000 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been a good one for me. That was me speculating on it and like seeing a general trend and like a chart formation on the 4 hour and in the pre-market session like last week on like Thursday or whatever. I was like, yeah, this'll, or I don't even remember when it was. Maybe it was the Thursday before. I don't even remember. But yeah, that would have been a good one to take. Unfortunately for me, didn't take it though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, at this point for Bitcoin, I mean, obviously I'm still hanging on this trade I'm in, but whenever I get stopped out on it, my nearest spot in the market I'd be interested in is probably not going to be, well, two options. Obviously, it depends if we can continue to break that overhead supply, because we haven't chewed through it all the way yet. That's the one we got the bounce off of Friday. But
Yeah.
get a break and close above like 117,300. Oh, actually higher than that. Let me look here. Yeah, get a close above like 117,917. Oh, I see we're on here now. So yeah,
Here we
So
go.
we're here. So if we can get a break above the rest of this supply, that's where I'd be the most interested in coming back for a demand zone somewhere along the way to go back to the upside. Or if we get a breakdown, then there's a 4-minute demand clear down here, but that's not until 112,800. There's actually a demand inside a smaller time frame, 112,400. So that would probably be my next move after this trade finally closes out that I'm in. Really, one or the other. Again, I don't know where it's going. I don't know if it's going up. I don't know if it's going down, but I'm gonna have a plan either way. Right? Maybe this red candle turns into a nice, strong demand zone candle. Never know. Just trade what's in front of us. But yeah, as far as that pound Aussie, yeah, finally did stop out for a nice win there. But yeah, I put this. Yeah, like I said earlier when we at the outset, if we break this line, a little triple top hiding in here as well, then I could definitely see price flying up. So I put my stop right here on this candle earlier. So it busted through, stopped me out for a profit, and just kept on going. So that's a perfect spot to get out.
Yeah.
I will take it.
Yep.
Don't want to get too greedy on it, but and then at this point, a little bit of okay. So the next inefficiency, if I wanted to sell this, going to be that 5-minute supply right there. Let's look at a 15-minute though first. Okay, so that candle doesn't count because number one, it was created by the supply zone, but number two, got a little bit of it's efficient. Those wicks overlapped, so just dropping down to the 5. Yeah, that looks like to be the next spot. You had this little inefficiency here. Let's see. Bottom of that candle, top of that candle. So that'll be our next gap to close and hitting the supply ahead. So I'm actually going to flip on over and put an alert there and just in case I want to sell that again. I don't know that I will want to, but we'll see. Let's see. Pound Aussie. Here we go. Pound Aussie, 5 minutes. Okay, there's the same one there. There's my gap. Shoot. I'll draw my gap again. All right, so there's that. Yeah, we'll throw an alert there. Just see what happens. It's a little skinny. A little bit skinny of a zone. It's only 5 pips after such a big drop and retrace that could potentially overpower it. I'll just throw this on through tomorrow. I don't think we'll need it. I'm sure this alert will probably get hit pretty quick, but okay, so 15-minute zone or 5-minute zone. But then the challenge will be going up 3 or 4 time frames, which would be the 15 or even the 30. And now we're starting to get into an uptrend. So this would be the reason not to take the trade. Just looking at these smaller time frames, higher lows, higher highs. So that would be a reason to ignore that. And that's probably what I'll end up doing. But I'm always interested to learn and see what happens, even with, this little bit of counter trend action. Yeah, I think I'm going to need something a little stronger than that because it took a very tiny 5-minute zone for me to draw up. But we'll see what happens. Give me a chance to hear my alarm go off again.
Yeah. Right.
A couple other zones I drew up that were hit. This was one I was keeping an eye on. This one didn't look like it worked out. I didn't hop in this trade because it was a little higher up than I wanted. I mean, it's pretty well efficient all the way through here. Did have this one little efficiency, kind of bounced off actually it bounced off perfectly off the 5-minute. Now that I see that, about a 2-to-1. Okay. Maybe that trade would have worked if you'd have put a limit order. I probably wouldn't have put a limit order on it, but worked out nevertheless. I just drew up a 1 hour, I think a 30-minute and a 15-minute zone as well. But yeah, ended up, to the pipette hitting that zone before bouncing up. So not a huge one. That would have been, conservatively, right, 19 pip, including the stop loss. 19. So about 2-1. Okay. All right. I guess that would have won out. But yeah, it would have went against a person pretty quick. So I wasn't interested in getting in. Just wanted to study it, as always.
Yeah.
I'll delete that.
To the pipette.
Pipette. That's right. Pound CAD hit a 15-minute demand back here earlier today and kind of wicked through it. So depending on how tight of a stop loss one would have had on, that would have either hit it, or I've been getting to where I've been adding about 5 pips on these smaller time frames, because that was one thing I ran into when I first started coming down to these smaller time frames, was having a lot of stops get hit because I was treating them like the higher time frames. But for this one, 5 pips, 5 pips would have kept me in that trade. And it looks like it's trying to turn around, so that would have been a potential one to get in. Aussie CAD, this one I don't think worked out at all. Oh yeah, so this was another one I was watching. So we did have a 15-minute demand, or no, I guess that would have been a 10-minute. Yeah, so we did have a 10-minute demand back here that ended up bouncing and kind of coming back before going up. So that one was a good zone. Now I drew up this zone as well. I'll just delete that since it's old news now. This was another demand I drew up on a 10-minute with a 5-minute inside. But a reason I did not take this one is because when price left the zone, it wasn't even strong enough to break these highs. So that kept me out. In fact, you can see where I drew this out. Hey, for me to be interested in this zone, I need price to come up and close above this. So we never got that. Thus, when price returned, just choose right through. So the lack of strength kept me out of that one, which is good because that would have been a loser. That's old news. I can delete that. And now we're left with a 10-minute demand right here. Right here. So nice volume on this one. So that's going to be the next spot. Looks like we're pretty close to it. Now, reasons to dislike this zone: too many candles to the left. Too much crap. So this is
too much crap.
Too much crap. It's like Austin. What's his name on Austin Powers? So just another one I want to watch because it is in the context of a funky, ugly-looking 1-hour demand zone because of that ugly wick we got from the Thursday's whatever report that was. What was it? Thursday's report. That would have been, the CPI and unemployment claims. That's right. When we had that big, ugly 263,000 unemployment claims number. So we just had this ugly wick. That just kind of screws up my supply and demand zones. I don't want to see a wick dropping down twice as much as the previous candles, because then you got to incorporate the whole wick on your risk, and then it totally skews your reward.
Mm-hmm.
So while it looks better on a 10-minute time frame, I'm just a little leery about the wick. I mean, the easy way around this would be to put your stop loss just below the 10-minute demand, or actually even 5-minute. I don't know what the 5-minute looks like. But again, with having that CPI and unemployment claims wick, I don't really like it, because that's where all the volume was. I feel like the better risk would be to put it under that whole wick. So probably going to ignore it. But as always, I like studying supply and demand zones in weird places just to see what happens. And then I also like to color them a lighter green color just so that I know that something's funky about it, something suspect, something sketchy about it. Because I can always use it as a potential take profit. Yeah, like I can always use it as a potential take profit. So let's just say this was giving me a bearish bias. Obviously, I'd be selling in supply. I would still use it as a potential place to buy to cover, for profit. because it could still bounce
Yep.
in and go the opposite way, right? So that doesn't change anything on my take profit. It's only the entry. And so, yeah,
Right.
with Aussie CAD, it's giving me a very bullish score of a 10. So definitely want to buy this market, but I just don't feel comfortable buying it there. And it's pretty high. It's pretty expensive. It's long term. Probably won't get down here anytime soon, but yeah,
Mhm.
the higher probability is going to be down in this area. But I mean, we might even have some help on one of these demand zones here. So that's, yeah, it's just kind of slim pickings at the moment. Definitely not a play that's going to happen
Yeah.
anytime soon, I don't think. But we do have a demand here, fair value gap, smaller demand inside for confluence. About 50% of this move for the fib traders out there. So I think there's
Well,
just better things out there. What you got?
yeah. Well, guess what kind of happened? Maybe you can guess something that might have happened recently with
Did
gold.
that support hold? Let's go look at it.
we Well, it's debatable, actually. It's a debatable thing. We can switch to my screen on
Yeah, go
production
ahead
and we
because I'm going
can
to update the
get that done.
back end with the winner here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, back in. Let's flip
So
on over to Mr. Powell.
once we do flip, yeah, once we do flip over, it looks like gold is trying to break down more harshly now. It's giving it a go here, but um, the funny enough is like we had like a back in the 12:45 p.m. time zone or our time candle, like my 15-minute candle at the 12:45 p.m. Eastern time. It wicked down to like 37.13 half, and that was the low of now this last 12 hours or so that we have. And it went down and retested that low and popped back up, and now we're chilling in that support zone of 37.15 and 37.16. But it looks like we're trying to actually full-fledged break through here. I might get short. I might do a small little short. I might get short on the micro contracts. We only have 15 minutes left in the session.
Yeah.
That's a tough one because it could just bounce right against me here.
So
If I was to get, it's too. I'm not gonna do it. Can't do it. Can't do it. Can't do it.
the picture looks better
Here,
on the future. Yeah.
oh, there it goes.
Oh, yeah.
So that the purple box of support, it was like that general support area, but this wick over here, if you were to draw the box down, there's like the wick all the way over to the left, and then the wick that we just made there where we touched it popped back up, and then sellers started to come in a little bit slowly here over this last 10 minutes of time, and now we've fully broken through, and we've technically broken through the low of those two wicks there. And the next area that you can easily see as an area to target would be 37.10, where there's a resting order of 110 contracts, a bigger buyer in these overnight markets, where we could see just like a liquidity grab of sorts occur, like where just somebody with a little bit somebody that wants a little bit more liquidity action would go down there, grab up that liquidity. But at the moment, we are, a ton of aggressive sellers came in there at the bottom of that candle that we're forming at the moment. A lot of negative delta there, but yeah, maybe it's like we can close that candle or this current candle in the next 2 minutes. It'll be closing. Maybe it closes below that support area and then gives gives sellers a little bit more reason to continue selling down into that liquidity at 37.10. But it almost looks like buyers are trying to give up right now. Okay, nope. Here we go.
Yeah, it's so interesting because that wick that you drew that box down to cover on the far left of your screen, that wick on the XAU USD chart is the exact same price now as that wick that just formed. But on yours, on the futures instrument, it's obviously a little higher. So it's always interesting to see how the futures and the CFDs can look similar, but sometimes you get a major difference like that.
Right.
And even with charts,
yeah,
different brokers, like the pound Aussie. I mean, it looked different than Trading View to GUI trades. And then the same thing, I've got another third-party broker I use for my much larger challenge that I've been a part of for a while. And all three of them can have a different look for the same instrument. It's kind of annoying when you see that.
Right,
it's like,
right.
Come on.
Yeah.
You guys all gang up and at least make the candles all look the same.
That's so true. Yeah, that can be probably a little bit confusing too if you're trying to look at the different charts and like maybe some things would be a little bit more conflicting than others. But like right now, dude, well, with this breakthrough of that support area, and then we're popping right back up into it, if not possibly above it by the time this candle closes, this 5-minute candle here.
Liquidity sweep.
That could be yeah, exactly, man. That's exactly what I was going to say. That could just be a sign of strength of sorts, where we just like swept the liquidity and then we're on our way back up possibly here. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if people were looking to get long now.
Yeah. I just wish there was a demand zone down there. Like if there had been a demand zone to the far left, I'd have been in there because that's a perfect liquidity sweep drop into a demand zone type buy. But yeah, the best that I had was a 1-minute time frame where that first wick on the left of the box that dropped into the 1 minute, 1, 2, 3 minute demand. It would probably look a little better on a 3-minute time frame. But it did drop in. It dropped into that perfectly, which is pretty much below that big level of that box that you drew in, that bottom purple box.
Okay, like right here.
Yeah, so
37.13.
Yep. It looks well on the XAU USD. That's a red candle before that spike up, so it looks a little better on the XAU instrument. But yeah, that's exactly it. And even a 2-minute, it's looking pretty good. Oh, so you can go down to the 3 and the 2-minute on that chart as well. That's cool.
Yeah, can you go down to 30-second, 15-second, 5-second, 1 second?
Nice.
You can go to do a lot of stuff.
Nice. But that's just not a whole lot of demand unless you drop a lot further down. But it looks like it's trying to catch its liquidity right there. Actually, I might have to look at this a little closer because, again, on XAU USD, that's nothing more than a double bottom. That most recent wick below to the one that's at the beginning of your box. Rectangle.
Right.
Just looks different, but it's a double bottom. But there's a lot of inefficiencies on that way down, all the way to basically it'd be 8:15 your time, Monday morning, this morning, kind of where that leg started.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of inefficiencies, so I would feel safest waiting for a pullback all the way down there, but may not get that. As always, I've missed a lot of gold and silver setups lately just because, again, I'm asking for too big of a discount that it wants to give me. It's tapping into some of
Right.
these demand zones, despite the inefficient ones below it, and just running. So people are just itching for any reason to buy, and it makes total sense. I mean, again, it's getting such a bullish reading on the top setups, and the
Right.
U.S. dollar is just looking like mierda. It's looking bad, right?
Mierda. Yeah. That's is that death? Is that death in Spanish? Is that what that is?
No,
Mierda?
it's no. S
Oh,
S
that's muerto. Never
asterisk
mind.
asterisk asterisk.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking
Yep.
muerto, dummy. My
Oh
Spanish
yeah.
is bad.
Yep. Yeah. S with 3 asterisks.
Oh God, it's too good. I hope we have Spanish listeners. I hope we do. I hope so.
Oh, I'm sure we do. I'm sure
It's
we
great.
do. They'll let me know on another stream, probably. I'll keep that word out.
Yeah, right, right.
Don't want to be throwing
That
that
would have
out here.
been, that on the 1 minute. This is a pretty good setup that I would usually take in a regular trading hour session where like minus this bar, like so if obviously we're bullish here and like we had that big bar up, but minus this, usually if like
Yeah.
with this down bar here, I would have looked to get long at like 37.15. I would have taken on a little bit of heat, would have put my stop below at 37 like 13 3, not even all the way down here at the low of this candle or anything. I would have put it down here for the sake of simply being below where this little shelf was created. Actually, you can't see my screen. Hold on, let me see if I can't. Jeez, Louise, here we go. So that shelf that's created essentially is what I
Mm-hmm.
care about the most. And if I was getting long after a pullback here, after like essentially we had such aggressive selling, and then you have the easy pop back up here, kind of to me, what I'm looking for is another shelf to form, like what we see in this yellow circle here, to be able to get long and then place my stop below that shelf, where that previous shelf was, to then look for a nice little bounce upwards and a break above that, wherever that, like that wick high of 36.16 essentially. And I would have been out already at this point with like, a couple $100, but that kind of trade is something I would usually like to do in like a regular trading hour session. Not as experienced with it in these quiet markets, so I don't typically understand how these kinds of inverted head and shoulders and whatnot behave. So anyway,
Yeah.
didn't take it though, and but I probably need to be a little bit more aggressive on stuff like this, even in the overnight. Regardless, I just need to be aggressive, take the shot. I can always size down. I can always go on the micro gold contracts. I could have taken 3 micro gold contracts and felt comfortable and played that little upside there. But next
Well, it's
time,
turning out to,
we will.
yeah. Basically, the entire time we've been on stream, that the entire price action for gold is like literally at the start of our stream. From that point
Yeah.
to the drop, the basing, the sign of strength, the selling climax. You kind of had a reversal. You kind of had the spring. So that's pretty much the whole Wyckoff theory, the whole
Mm-hmm.
Wyckoff price action in a nutshell. And then now we got that spring that's going down here collecting liquidity. Yeah, if we can get a little bit of a high uh, above, let's see here. Well, I'm looking at a 2-minute chart, but yeah, for the XAU USD traders, get a push above the 36.82 half level, and then a retracement down. We could potentially get into a trade on that. I mean, it's it's a 1 hour Wyckoff theory. It's shaping up
Right.
perfect.
Yeah.
I think I took a trade on this or on that concept the other day. You know, 1 minute, 1 minute, but patterns are patterns. So it'll be interesting to see. I'll play around
Cool.
with that. I'll see if we can break that high so that we can get that sign of strength or that change of character. And yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
Might take a stab at it. Just to test it out, right? Throw like $10 on this
Yeah.
trade. That's something small.
Dude. Yeah, I love it. Give it a little
That'd be
testaroo,
good.
but it's we are coming back down a little bit here now. We had
Yeah.
some decent delta come up to try and keep us going, but then it got immediately just the buyers fizzled out, and we're coming back down into that little support area. So the it seems like the correlations are, remember we were talking about this last week with the positive correlations like kind of emerging a little bit between gold and the indices in the overnight sessions when I
Yeah.
was like trading them late last week. um Kind of looks like they're doing this, there's, or not positively correlated, the negative correlation was starting to reemerge in the overnight sessions between the two.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So with gold coming down, like the equity indices have been going up in the overnight session here. So kind of interesting. Now the equity indices, I'm looking at them like the Nasdaq and the ES are trying to make a little bit. They've consolidated a little bit, and they're trying to make a turn up, and then gold is like pushing down right now. So
Yeah.
it's kind of odd, but in its own way, it feels slightly negatively correlated, even though obviously on an over like a daily basis at the moment, they're obviously not negatively correlated. I'm just talking about in these like small overnight sessions at times, you can see the negative correlation coming through. We're obviously positively correlated. Gold is breaking all-time highs. The equity indices are breaking all-time highs. So we are obviously,
Yeah.
generally speaking, positively correlated.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Good
Uh,
stuff, man. Well, shoot. Looks like we've reached the end. Just the last thing I wanted to throw
wow.
out there, guys and gals. Tomorrow's Tuesday, and well, it's already Tuesday in Asia, but just keep in mind at 8:30 a.m. New York City time, so Eastern Standard Time, we got Canada's Consumer Price Index. So we'll see what their inflation reports are looking like. Followed by the U.S. retail sales. All that is taking place at the exact same time. So be careful with your trades. Make sure you're way the heck away from it if you're in a longer position. If you're in a short-term trade, it's just best to get out. Coach Michael on Forex Fire says all the time, if you like to trade that much, close it, reopen it when the dust settles, right? So just be careful with that. But
Right.
yeah, we'll be back to Forex Fire in about 5 hours. So that'll be 4 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'll be on with a couple other gents, and we'll be back. We'll go at it again. So anything last minute from you, Paul?
That's it, man. Have a great night, and have a great morning tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow night. Awesome. Thanks for
That's right.
joining us, chat, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Appreciate it.
Peace
All
out.
righty. Take care. Later.
Hola Prime. Trade with transparency.